Good morning, everyone. My name is Tao, and today I'm going to take charge of the features of English literature in the first half of the 20th century. My presentation will have includes four parts. The first one is modernist movement. The second one is main genres, themes, models of character, and points of view is the third one, and the last one is main characteristics. So let's move to the first part, the modernist movement. We also call it modernism. It's the major literary movement in the first half of the 20th century. It appeared between the period of 1890 and 1950, but is especially popular during the interwar years. It is the period of 1918 and 1939. In this period, the changes of English literature was defined by the term modern. These changes include the expansion of its ranges, its audience, its forms, and etc. I'd like to give you another definition about modernism. According to Christopher Gibb, modernism refers to the radical shift in aesthetic and cultural sensibilities evident in the art and literature of the post-World War I period. The causes of this movement is because the development of modern industrialized societies, the rapid growth of cities, the horrors of two world wars, gender, class, and race struggles. All of these elements shaped modernism. This period marked a loss of faith in God, government, and human goodness. It made people away from religious organization and focus more on the individual. Let's move to the next part, main genres. There are three main types of literary work in this period: poetry, drama, and novel. Firstly, let's talk about poetry. Some of the foremost poets of the 20th century literature are William Butler Yeats with his famous poem, A Prayer for My Daughter, and David Herbert Lawrence with Snake. Another female poet in this period is Mina Loy with the poem Love Songs. She challenged women to free themselves from the dependence on men. And in drama, Irish playwrights George Bernard Shaw and John Millington Synge were influential in British drama. Shaw's career began in the last decade of the 19th century. One of his most famous literary works was Man and Superman. He turned the Edwardian theatre into an arena for debate about important political and social issues like marriage, class, the morality of ornaments and war, and the rights of women. John Millington Synge's plays belong to the first decade of the 20th century. Synge's most famous play is The Playboy of the Western World, which caused outrage and riots when it was first performed in Dublin in 1907. And Novel, one of the popular British writers of the early years of the 20th century, was Rudyard Kipling. He is a highly versatile writer of novels, short stories, and poems, and he is the youngest ever recipient of the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. He was also the first English language author to win the prize. And among the novelists, other important early modernists include Dorothy Richardson, whose novel Pointed Roof is one of the earliest examples of the stream of consciousness technique which is used in the modernist movement. And the third part is common themes, model of character, and points of view. The common themes in the modernism are alienation, the championship of the individual, reality versus perception, subconscious mind and conscious mind, the breakdown of social norms. And in literary modernist work, in modernist literary work, The main character often got failure, which requires readers to take care in reading them. They often lost faith in society and religion. And about authors' points of view, the modernist writers prefer to write from a first person perspective to get a more personal view of the story. So, in other words, modernist writers wanted to exploit the character's flow of thoughts. Let's move to the next part, the main characteristics. This part includes five characteristics: individualism, formalism, absurdity, symbolism, and experimentation. According to Cambridge Dictionary, individualism is the idea that freedom of thought and action for each person is the most important quality of a society, rather than shared for effort and responsibility. So, modernist writers consider the world as a challenge to the integrity of people. For example, Edward Morgan Foster, known as E.M. Forster, has many works discussing class in social status, but he also displayed an interest in individual values. His most well known works are A Room with a View. A Room with a View tells the story of a romantic love between Lucy Honeychurch and George Emerson. While Lucy feels obligated by social class to marry her wealthy fiancé Cecil, in the end she is unable to deny the chemistry with George and decides that they are destined to be together. The next characteristic is formalism. It is an artistic or literary style that is more concerned with form, the rules about the arrangement of different elements, than with expressing feelings or meaning. Writers of modernist period desire for creativity and originality. Modernist poetry was created by foreign languages, dense vocabulary, and invented words. One of the most influential literary works of the first half of the 20th century is William Emerson's Seven Types of Ambiguity. In this literary work, Emerson sought to enhance the reader's understanding of a poem by isolating the linguistic properties of the text. He suggested that words or references in poems are often ambiguous and, if presented coherently, carry various meanings that can improve the reader's appreciation of the work. So, this work is typical of modernism in requiring the readers to take an active role in interpreting the text. The third characteristic is absurdity. It is the quality of being stupid and unreasonable or silly in a humorous way. Modernist writers were affected by the bloodshed of the two world wars. A number of great writers died or were wounded in the First World War. Society was being reorganized by global capitalism. For many writers, the world was turning more absurd and alien every day. An example of this feature is Virginia Woolf's drama Freshwater, which is exposed to the innate absurdity. In this work, infant England was absurdly embodied in little Phyllis Jones, who forgets her lines and repeats three times, "England am I, England am I, England am I," until Mrs. Swithin is provoked to ask, "England, the little girl?" And the next characteristic is symbolism. It means the use of symbols in arts, literature, films, etc., to represent ideas. Writers in this period consider that objects, events, people have significant meaning. Symbolism is not new in literature, but it was an innovation in modernist literature. A notable novel of this period is Heart of Darkness of Joseph Conrad. The obvious symbol in the novel is darkness. which is highlighted in the novel's title. As expected, darkness stands for the ideas such as evil, madness, and depravity. Another symbol in the novel is the sepulchral city. A sepulchre is a tomb or burial place. It is beautiful on the outside, but hollow in the center and often represents death. In the novel, the sepulchral city symbolizes European civilization. It has a beautiful exterior, but is hiding something hollow and foreboding. And the last main characteristic is experimentation. It is the process of trying methods, activities, etc., to discover what effect they have. Writers in this period, in this writers follow this characteristic did not follow the traditional form, and they used the stream of consciousness techniques. This characteristic is evidenced in the experimental works of James Joyce Ulysses. As you can see in the highlighted lines, James Joyce writes, a soft qualm regret flowed down his backbone, increasing. Will happen, yes. Prevent, prevent. Useless, can't move. Girl's sweet light lips will happen too. He felt the flowing qualm spread over him. Useless to move now. Lips kissed, kissing, kissed. Full gluey woman's lips. So here we see a deep focus onto the inner self of the consciousness of being. It is shown in the sensual experience of hesitancy and desire for the kiss of a woman. The emphasis here is less about the proper form and structure. It is more on the experiential exploration of the inner workings of human consciousness. So that is the end of my presentation, and here are some references. Thank you so much for your attention. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask me any. Thank you.